Hello everybody, welcome. Today I'm honoured to be joined by Richard Donnell from Hometrack. Richard has been analysing and commenting on the UK housing market for over 20 years. I think he's the best there is. Richard, thank you so much for joining me. May I start with saying I'm a big fan.
Thank you very much.
I think your research is second to none, and it has always been a real go-to for me. So I think what you do is superb. But I'm interested in how you do what you do, and how did it all come about? How did you get into property research?
Well, I was always interested in property. I did a degree in real estate.
Okay.
And then was always the guy doing the spreadsheets with my colleagues when we were doing development appraisals and valuations and things. And then I managed to land a job at Savills working in the research team, maybe with a view to sort of becoming a chartered surveyor.
Okay.
But I got bitten by the sort of analysis bug. And in my 12 years at Savills, I just learned about how much value there is in data, what you can do with analysis and how it can help people and businesses make better decisions. And then the opportunity came up to take that and go and work at Hometrack.
You publish reams of data and graphs and intel. How do you suggest people analyse it for their own personal benefit?
Well, I think that's where the advent of just data and analysis has gone. I think obviously on Zoopla, you can come and find the value of your home. You can find a lot more about what's happening in your neighbourhood. I think a lot more sites and tools available out there now for people to sign up to alerts, to track the market in their area.
Okay.
So I don't think many consumers are out there sort of using all this data and building their own charts for their own area. They expect all of the big brands, us included, as a leading property portal, to be delivering them the information they need to make their decisions.
Yeah.
And that's a mixture of browsing and tracking what's happening in the market. Zoopla did a big survey last year where they found that 45% of people said they're active in the market, but they're just browsing, waiting for that perfect property to arrive for them to buy. And actually, so people want information all the time, and it's down to everyone to keep delivering it to them on how they want it.
You and I have talked property on many different occasions, but I've not kind of understood how what is your typical day like? What happens to the day of a property analyst?
Well, I think it's looking at what questions you need to answer. And again, it amazes me how big businesses, chief execs, right the way through to local agents, to people on the ground. It's amazing the questions that people still can't find answers to. So the first thing is, what are you trying to do? What answers are you trying to answer? And then I think the other secret thing is to not get into sort of opinion or comment. It's to let the data do the talking. Let's really work the data hard to answer in an easy to understand way what people want to know. So it's the main piece is around, you need to have really good people behind you taking all this data, taking it on a journey to get you from raw information to clean information to data you can trust and analyse.
Yeah.
And then it's about doing a lot of hard work, a lot of analysis to then come up with the answers. And then with the answers, it's about how can you scale it out and get it out to as wide an audience as possible, whether that's putting out a press release, doing a report. But again, the opportunity for us is how can we get this information onto every single person's property for them?
It's powerful stuff, and it's information that people need in their moment of almost crisis. They're trying to take a big decision with clarity and confidence. But at the same time, they are reading the press, and the press seem to be all over the place at the moment. Any thoughts or advice on what people should take away with them? What should they listen to? What shouldn't they listen to?
Well, I think there's not one housing market is the first thing. So when you read the headlines, and again, I think a lot of consumers get a sense of what's happening in their local area to a decent degree, and that's only going to keep improving. So there's a kind of national narrative, there's a regional narrative, but again, people don't live in a national or regional housing market, they live in their local area. I think when it comes to people making decisions about whether to buy or to sell or to get on the housing ladder particularly, I think you've got to take a long-term view, and the average household now is living in their home 20 years. I mean, that's much higher than it was back in the 1980s. So if you're getting on the housing ladder, you've got to think longer term, plan to be in that home for the next 10 years. And it's just all about your life stage, and is it right for you to buy a home? Have you got the deposit? Is now the time to be moving? And do it for the right reasons, for your own personal reasons, and then ultimately give or take in house price inflation what that market gives you. Basically, don't go chasing it. I know a lot of people who've delayed buying because they thought houses prices were going to collapse. I know a lot more people that have probably regretted just not getting on and making the decision when they're ready to make it than trying to wait for house prices to fall.
It's ever so complicated, isn't it? Because it's where you live. It's where you bring up your family. It's where you put down roots, and it's your sanctuary, and it's your privacy, and it's everything. It's not all about the money.
For people buying in their own home, I think buy-to-let has enabled people to sort of invest at arm's length. I think in the 1980s, people were almost investing with their own home, which is where you get into the big problem. So I think now people are being able to compartmentalise making a decision about a home I want to live in for the long term versus actually, the arm's length investing is being enabled differently through buy-to-let mortgages.
Well, Richard, I can only wish you keep doing it. Brilliant. Nice talking to you. Thanks a lot.